All right, joining me now is CTV News political commentator and the former leader of the NDP, Tom Mulcair. Hi there, Tom.
Good to be with you, Marcia.
So before we talk about the priorities for this first cabinet meeting, I wanted to get your thoughts on this new cabinet, this two-tiered cabinet. Some are saying looks an awful lot like what Trudeau had in place. Others are saying, yeah, this is a real change. What do you think?
A little bit of both. I mean, it's true when Prime Minister Carney says that half of the ministers are new, and that's a good sign that he recruited good people and he's able to put them in cabinet. But there are also a lot of seasoned people there who know their way around and know their files and know different files. You know, it's not a surprise to me to see, for example, Mélanie Joly stay on as a minister. She wanted an economic file, she now says. Fine, she's got one, but it's a good thing that she's out of foreign affairs. Anita Anand, really respected, one of the best administrators we have, and I think that she'll do an amazing job. So, I mean, he was able to take some of what he had and move it around. There's one mystery, though, and it involves a fellow named Carlos Letao, who used to be Quebec's finance minister, who cleaned out the Augean stables for Philippe Couillard, did an unbelievable job in cleaning up the mess that had been left by the Parti Québécois, similar to the mess that Trudeau had left there. So it's difficult to understand how, and he answered one question on it at his press conference saying he had to make difficult choices. But it is even more surprising to see François-Philippe Champagne show up as finance minister. He was there for a few weeks, we knew that. But it's surprising because he was at the cabinet table for every single one of the lousy decisions, including, you know, the disastrous decisions before the holidays, the gimmicks, as Chrystia Freeland called them. He was there around the cabinet table. And for him to be finance minister now for Carney, that one's difficult to understand. There was obviously a power play in the background. It'll eventually come out. But I'm circling that one with a bit of chalk just so that people remember there was obviously something going on there. And for Letao not to even be in cabinet means that he walked away from whatever alternate thing they offered him.
And you really do get the sense that the new prime minister, the prime minister, is ready to get down to business in a big and meaningful way out of the gate. So what do you think will be the main priorities for the first cabinet meeting? And Tom, what's your sense of how he's going to lead this team?
He's got two priorities. One is cleaning up Canada's finances. I mean, they're in disastrous shape after the Trudeau years. Two, he wants to build. He wants Canada to exploit and develop its natural resources. We're blessed with natural resources, but ask what people in Alberta and Saskatchewan think about what, you know, the Canadian government's done for the last few years. He showed openness in that interview, that exclusive interview with Vashi Kapelas. He showed openness to knocking down a couple of the impediments that were there, but he's also someone with deep knowledge, experience, and understanding of sustainable development and environment, more than anybody that we've ever had as prime minister. So he's going to be able to do both at the same time. He can walk and chew gum when it comes to resource development, and we're going to see him pushing very fast. He doesn't suffer fools gladly, and he's also impatient to get things done. During the Trudeau years, everything was controlled centrally. I mean, there was a chief of staff there who was, for all intents and purposes, the boss of Trudeau. Nothing happened. And that's why everything ground to a halt towards the end of his regime. Carney's not going to have anything to do with that. He's going to give this team a year and a half to show their stuff. He's not going to be shy about moving people around if they're not performing. And some of them will perform super well, and others
hang on one second.
are going to wind up
Patty
on the
Hajdu
back
just
benches.
arriving. Let's listen. Hang on, Tom.
To strengthen the Canadian economy and protect workers from the shock that's coming from a changing economic relationship with the United States. And that's a task that the Prime Minister has given me, along with many other ministers, to ensure that we support workers no matter what comes.
But what can you do concretely?
How do
you address national unity? Premier Smith isn't happy with this cabinet.
Well, look, I think that there's an opportunity to work with all kinds of voices all across the country, and I think Mr. Carney has said that we will do that. We will serve all Canadians, and that's the way governments should think about the way that we operate, actually, is that regardless of who voted for us, regardless of your particular policy perspective, we're there to work for you. We might not always agree. It's a big country with lots of different agendas and priorities, but we can do this work together.
All right, Tom, so that was Patty Hajdu, the Minister of Jobs and Families, and the Minister responsible for the Federal Economic Development Agency for Northern Ontario. Just going into that meeting, you can just pick up on that.
Well, from Thunder Bay, so economic development in Northern Ontario is certainly her bailiwick, and she's also got a jobs portfolio. And as she says, with the threats that we're going through with the United States, that's going to be more important than ever. So I also sense, for someone who's been in the game for a long time, that she was super well prepared. Those lines were clipped. She knew what to do when they came at her with Alberta and with Danielle Smith. She knew what to do when they were asking her to start describing in detail exactly what her plan is. So I do think that it shows that there's a real professionalism around them. And it goes back to what we were saying. You have a cabinet, you've got a bunch of experienced people. Guess what? A lot of the staffers who were there, who are not necessarily front and center, but the ones who are competent and experienced, they're also there to prep ministers as they walk in for their first meeting. And I think it was particularly well done.
All right, we'll watch more ministers as they arrive for cabinet. Tom, thanks so much. It's always great to see you. Tom
All the best,
Mulcair
Marcia.
is our CTV News political commentator and the former leader of the NDP party.